What is up, guys? This is Rich with Red Phone Video, and as you can see, I'm standing in my movie room here. I've got a wall of movies behind me, and I've been doing a lot of work in this room. It never really stops. I'm always, sorting stuff and arranging things and just adding new titles. But this video here, I wanted to sort of highlight this rack that I have off to the right. It's off camera, you can't see it right now. But recently I arranged some movies by director, and I've never really done that before because this, like I said, this room is just a mess. I don't have anything categorized alphabetically. I don't have anything, organized by genre. It's not arranged in any kind of uniform way. It's just chaos, like I said. So I'm gonna show you this media rack over here, and it's a little narrow, but I've got a lot of films in here that they're arranged by director, and I wanted to know if you guys do this too, because that is the first time I've tried it, and I like it, but I can't do it with everything in here because I don't know, it would probably mess with my OCD. But I thought the other day, hey, let me just do this by director. So you'll see in this rack, there's going to be some movies where the directors don't really have a large filmography. They may have like a dozen films or 20 to 30, but I wanted to make sure that they filled up this rack. So I'm going to go through all the movies on this rack, and I'm going to try not to talk about the movies too long, although it probably will happen along the way. So this is basically just a display video. It's nothing fancy, but I'm going to show you this rack of movies that I arranged by director, and these aren't really my favorite directors, by the way. They're just notable directors. I mean, there are some really great directors with some impressive filmographies. So I'm just going to go through all the titles, all the directors, talk a little bit about them. So without further ado, let me show you this media rack with all the movies arranged by director. So let's get into it, and I hope you guys enjoy. All right, so here is the rack in the corner of the room that has all the movies arranged by director. And as you can see, it's not entirely filled up. There are some empty spots because it's not perfect, like the directors and their body of work it's a little uneven. I couldn't make it perfect, couldn't fill it all the way up. But some of these directors will have films in the future, so I could potentially fill it up then. I've always hated that window being there. It's like it's just negative space to me. It's wasted space because you don't really need daylight if you got a wall of movies on the wall. At least that's how I see it anyway. But anyway, I'm going to get into these films, so let's just go ahead and get started. All right, so on this top shelf here, we have the Woody Allen collection. These are almost all of Woody Allen's movies. I do have a few of his movies on DVD, which to my knowledge haven't been released on Blu-ray yet. And I believe it's Scoop and like Cassandra's Dream and possibly I think Match Point is the other one. But these are all Blu-rays, and as you can see, some of them are from the Twilight Time label, which is now defunct because of the death of the one of the co-founders, Nick Redman. But yeah, we'll start with this one. This is a Kino Lorber title, Take the Money and Run. This was Woody Allen's first film, and these are they should be in sequential order, from the time they were released. So Take the Money and Run. That's a good movie. Then we move into the Twilight Time stuff. We have Bananas, which I believe a lot of the stuff that came out from Twilight Time, a lot of Woody Allen stuff has been re-released. I don't remember the label, but Bananas, that was a movie that I saw when I was a kid, and it's funny stuff. Not his best, but it's funny. And then you have Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex, but Were Afraid to Ask. Everything You Always Wanted to Know About Sex, but Were Afraid to Ask. Then you have Sleeper, which is an interesting little sci-fi comedy with Diane Keaton. Then you have Love and Death, which is one of my favorites from Woody. Then you have The Front, which is it's not a Woody Allen film. I mean, he's in it, but it's not, he didn't direct it. But I just wanted to include it because it was part of the Twilight Time label. So yeah, that is The Front. Then, of course, we have Annie Hall, and Annie Hall is a classic. It's not my favorite Woody Allen. I do love Annie Hall, but most people when they think of Woody Allen, they think of Annie Hall. I love Annie Hall, but it's not my favorite. And this came out from MGM. As you can see, MGM put out this one, Sleeper, Hannah and Her Sisters, and there was another one. Manhattan. So yeah, those four were released in a pack together. So yeah, after Annie Hall, you have Interiors. Interiors, interesting film. I really like this one. This was Woody Allen basically, paying homage to Bergman. Then you have Manhattan. That's a beautiful film. Some people will say it doesn't really hold up, but I don't give a shit. I love Manhattan. and I make no apologies for liking it. Stardust Memories. I haven't seen it in a long time. My mom really likes this movie. A Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy. Haven't seen that one in a long time either. Zelig. I just watched that one recently, and I enjoyed it. Broadway Danny Rose. That one's a classic. This one came out in '84, I believe. The Purple Rose of Cairo. That is the one with Mia Farrow and Jeff Daniels. That one, this is a really, really good imaginative movie. Hannah and Her Sisters. This might be my favorite, maybe my second favorite. This has some of the best writing and some of the best acting. Like, the cast is phenomenal, and it's just, it's funny stuff. And I would say this makes a good introductory film if you're trying to get into the films of Woody. But Radio Days. Then we have September, which I don't think I've seen September. I haven't watched that one. New York Stories. Martin Scorsese directed one of the segments in this, and this is a good one. New York Stories. Check that one out. This one came out from Mill Creek Entertainment, so it kind of stands out like a sore thumb in this collection. But anyway, Another Woman. This is a good one with Mia Farrow and Gina Rowlands. Another Woman. It's it's good. It's a little underwhelming in some spots, but it's a good film. Crimes and Misdemeanors. Now, this is probably my favorite Woody Allen film. I think Martin Landau does a terrific job in this movie, and Jerry Orbach turns up in it, and he delivers a real memorable performance, and Woody's good in it, of course. And Crimes and Misdemeanors is probably my favorite Woody Allen film. I don't believe I haven't seen Alice. This one's still in the plastic. Shadows and Fog. Then we have Husbands and Wives. That's a good one. This is like one of the last great films he did. I mean, in my honest opinion, a lot of the stuff for me when Woody Allen started, a lot of his stuff in the '90s is just kind of hit or miss to me. But Husbands and Wives is good. Manhattan Murder Mystery. I like this one too. This one's fun. And then we have Celebrity. Not a big fan of Celebrity, but it's all right. Small Time Crooks. Then we have Hollywood Ending. Then we have Vicky Cristina Barcelona and Whatever Works, which I thought was going to be great, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. It's got Larry David in it, so I thought it was going to be hilarious, but it's kind of lackluster. Whatever Works. It didn't really work for me, but anyway. And then you have You Will Meet a Tall, Dark Stranger. That one's okay. Midnight in Paris with Owen Wilson. That one's pretty serviceable. Got, a really good cast in it. But, not one of the more memorable ones, but Owen Wilson's good in it as usual. Next up, we have To Rome with Love. I've seen this, but I don't remember it, to be honest. Blue Jasmine is good. I like Cate Blanchett in this. Blue Jasmine is a highlight. Magic in the Moonlight. Sorry, these are kind of tight. Magic in the Moonlight. I don't really remember that one. Irrational Man with Joaquin. I'm not a huge Joaquin Phoenix fan, but I do like Parker Posey. I do like Emma Stone in this. And Joaquin, he plays it pretty good. He plays his normal, like, neurotic, brooding, he plays that type of character that he normally plays. But Irrational Man it's okay. It's pretty good. Let's see. And then we have Cafe Society. Sorry, I'm not going to pull all these out all the way out anymore because they're kind of tight. Wonder Wheel with Kate Winslet. That's a good one. And then we have, I haven't seen these latest ones. A Rainy Day in New York. I haven't watched that one yet. I've heard mixed things, but I'm not really excited to check it out. This is that era of Woody Allen where I don't really give a shit anymore. But then we have Rifkin's Festival, his latest film, possibly his last, although I hear he's got one more in the works. But this one's with Wallace Shawn. You guys have probably seen him in Clueless, and of course he was in My Dinner with Andre. It's one of my favorite films. But Rifkin's Festival, I haven't checked it out yet. But then we have the Woody Allen collection. Now, this was interesting because this one had a lot of films that weren't released on Blu-ray yet. So these are some films of Woody Allen's from the 90s. And I like this box set. It's pretty cool. I think it's a little cheap, but in this one you get Bullets Over Broadway, you get Mighty Aphrodite with Mira Sorvino, you get Everyone Says I Love You, you get Celebrity, Small Time Crooks, Curse of the Jade Scorpion, Hollywood Ending, which I have another copy of that. We just saw it. But then you have Anything Else with Christina Ricci and Jason Biggs. That one's underrated. I really like that one. That it came out during a good time of my life, early 2000s. But that is the Woody Allen collection. And then moving on here, we have the Hal Hartley collection. So in this Hal Hartley collection, these are kind of cheap. I'm not a big fan of this packaging and all that, but you have a Henry Fool, Fay Grimm, Ned Rifle. I don't remember much of Ned Rifle, but Henry Fool and Fay Grimm. If you're a fan of Hal Hartley's films, and if you like Parker Posey, definitely check out Henry Fool and Fay Grimm. Then you have the Long Island trilogy. Now, some of these I do already have, but I like this box set. This is basically, we have The Unbelievable Truth, we have Trust, and Simple Men, which, as you can see, I have The Unbelievable Truth and Trust over here separately from Olive Films, but they are included in this pack. And so, yeah, moving on to The Unbelievable Truth. This is probably my favorite Hal Hartley film. It's about Adrienne Shelly, who's awesome. I really miss her. She was a great actress, very, eccentric and unique. And she just had this screen presence that was, undeniable and unforgettable. But she directed that movie Waitress, I believe, with Kerry Russell. But yeah, The Unbelievable Truth, she plays a woman, falls in love with an ex-con. This is a great film, and definitely check it out. I got really big into Hal Hartley when I was young. Like, he did all these, philosophical, romantic movies, and I was really big into him and Jim Jarmusch in my early 20s when I was a depressed young man. But Trust is another good one. It's got Edie Falco in it, who plays Adrienne Shelly's sister. Then we have Meanwhile from Hal Hartley. And keep in mind, these are not all of Hal Hartley's films, but this is just what I own of his filmography. So I wanted to kind of stack them in here at the end to sort of fill up the space. But Meanwhile, then we have Flirt. I don't remember much about Flirt. I know I've seen it, but it's been years since I've seen it. And I know it has like 3 different stories. And, it's not really an anthology, but it's about 3 different characters from 3 different countries. But Flirt, then that is pretty much the Hal Hartley section. So moving on to the next shelf. This next shelf, we have John Carpenter. We have Dark Star, which was his first film. It was a student film, and then they turned it into a feature, But this has Dan O'Bannon in it, who, he worked with Carpenter this one time, but Dan O'Bannon, he went on to write Alien. He wrote and directed Return of the Living Dead. And Dan O'Bannon really makes this movie. If it wasn't for him, this movie probably wouldn't be as good as it is. But, Dark Star, it's a serviceable movie. It's fun. Not one of Carpenter's best, but definitely has its moments. There's a moment, with Dan O'Bannon fighting an alien. And it's sort of a precursor to what we would see in, Ridley Scott's Alien. It's just not as good. The alien's a beach ball in this movie. But anyway, that is Dark Star. And then we have possibly one of my favorite John Carpenter films. This is actually probably my favorite John Carpenter film. I'm not sure if, it's a toss-up between this and The Thing. I'd have to say The Thing probably is my number one. But Assault on Precinct 13 is just a John Carpenter classic. And this is probably in, my top 10, top 15 favorite films of all time. I love Assault on Precinct 13. It's basically John Carpenter doing Rio Bravo. And so I believe this was the first time this came out on Blu-ray. But then we have the Scream Factory release of Assault on Precinct 13. This is a 5-star movie in my opinion. I think, Carpenter was young and he was hungry. And it's a beautiful film. It's, some people would say it has its problems, that it moves a little too slow, but I just think this movie just captures what Carpenter pretty much did his whole career. It's got these awesome widescreen shots, just great music, and, tension and suspense. It just excels at all that. So if you haven't seen Assault on Precinct 13, get on it. Then you have Someone's Watching Me. This was a TV movie that John Carpenter did, which is a lot like Halloween. He employed a lot of the same techniques that he would use in Halloween, which was made the same year. So then we have Halloween, classic horror film. You notice this is still in the plastic. I had to include it in the John Carpenter lineup here, but I have a whole separate shelf where I keep Halloween films, and if you guys have seen my video on Halloween, I have like multiple copies of this damn movie. But Halloween, we all know about it, classic horror film. Then we have Elvis TV movie. John Carpenter, the first time he worked with Kurt Russell. This was one of the first Shout selects. This was number two in the Shout Select line. Then we have the Fog. As you can see, I have multiple copies of the Fog here. So we have the Fog Blu-ray. We have another Fog Blu-ray for some reason. I think this was an accidental buy. And then we have the 4K of the Fog with the original poster art. Then we have Escape from New York. Classic Escape from New York, Snake Plissken. Escape from New York, the Blu-ray. Escape from New York, the 4K with the classic poster art. The Thing on Blu-ray. Now, I wanted to mention something about this. This version of The Thing, if you guys have the Universal Blu-ray or the Universal DVD, keep this. Keep this version of The Thing because this has the original commentary with John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, and there's major censorship. Like, if you have the Scream Factory version of The Thing, this one right here, it's truncated. The commentary has been censored. So anytime Kurt Russell and John Carpenter mention anything about racism or AIDS, it's included in this, but it's cut out on this one. So they censored the shit out of the commentary. They even cut out moments of John Carpenter lighting his cigarette, which I thought was ludicrous. So, I mean, this is a good transfer, and the 4K of The Thing is beautiful. But the original commentary, if you guys want to hear it in its uncensored glory, then definitely hang on to this version of The Thing. And, you know, the Universal DVD, if you still have that. But that is The Thing. I have 3 copies of it. Then we have Christine. Christine. I want to say I got this steelbook from Best Buy. It's not the prettiest cover, but it was a, you know, cool looking steelbook at the time. And this was the Twilight Time release of Christine. So, yeah, this has a lot of the same special features, too. If you have, like, Christine on 4K, a lot of the same special features have been ported over to all the future releases. Christine on 4K, let's see, this is Christine on Blu-ray. So yeah, this one and the Steelbook are 4Ks. Then we have Starman, which is about to get a 4K from the Columbia Classics line. So definitely, you know, if you don't have this version of it, you know, I know a lot of people don't want to spend the money on that Columbia Classics box. I get it. So, I mean, and a lot of people don't even care to see Starman in 4K. But yeah, this is the Starman Blu-ray. And here's another Starman Blu-ray. Then we have Big Trouble in Little China. This is a fun John Carpenter film. A lot of people don't like Big Trouble in Little China, I've noticed. Like some people I see on social media kind of bash this movie. You know, it's not like my favorite Carpenter film, but I mean, I'd say it possibly ranks in my top 10 of his films. Then we have another copy of Big Trouble in Little China. I decided to leave this one wrapped up. This was the special edition that Scream Factory put out. And, you know, so I haven't checked out the transfer. It probably has a new HD scan compared to this one, but this was the old 20th Century Fox release of Big Trouble in Little China. So this is the only one I know about. And this has the commentary with Kurt Russell and John Carpenter, which is hilarious. So yeah, I'll definitely check this one out one of these days. Prince of Darkness on Blu-ray. Then we have Prince of Darkness on 4K. I love Prince of Darkness. Very creepy stuff. They Live on Blu-ray. They Live on 4K, which I still need to check out the 4K transfer of They Live. I'm sure it looks good. But then we have Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Not a big fan of this one. I mean, it's fun, you know, and if you like Chevy Chase, I mean, it's nothing like Fletch. It's not funny. It's Chevy Chase trying to be somewhat serious and sentimental and dramatic. But I mean, it works for the most part, but it's just kind of mid. So then you have Body Bags. This is a fun little anthology. In the Mouth of Madness. This is a damn good horror film. Village of the Damned. Okay, not Carpenter's finest hour, but it's watchable, and I mean, I kind of have a soft spot for it. I grew up with this one. So, Village of the Damned, and then we have Escape from L.A., the original Blu-ray. Then we have Escape from L.A., also the Blu-ray from Scream Factory, and I want to say, yeah, this is the same release. I think somebody got this for me. I don't remember who. I might have accidentally bought it myself, but yeah, 2 copies of the Blu-ray. So I don't have the 4K of Escape from LA. If you guys have seen the 4K transfer of Escape from LA, let me know about the transfer, and I might pick it up. But this is a movie that I just don't find very visually impressive, but it's fun. I remember seeing it in the theater when I was a kid and thinking it was just glorious and stupid. But anyway, John Carpenter's Vampires, this movie, I have a soft spot for this one too. It's corny as hell, but James Woods steals the show. And Vampires, it's, it's fun. Another copy of Vampires from Twilight Time. Then we have Ghost of Mars, probably John Carpenter's most maligned film, Ghost of Mars. But, I mean, it's watchable. I mean, come on. It's got Ice Cube and Natasha Henstridge in it and Jason Statham. Pam Grier is awesome in the movie, too. And then we have John Carpenter's The Ward, which is pretty fun. This is from the writers of Crawl, I believe. And The Ward, it has its moments. But, again, not great. Now, at the very end of this shelf, we have the films from S. Craig Zahler and, of course, Jordan Peele's films. I put all these movies here because these guys have really short filmographies, and, I figured I'd just cram them in here. So, if you guys haven't heard of S. Craig Zahler, I don't know why you haven't by now, but his films are really good, and I don't know why he's not making more. I know that he's moved on to, graphic novels for the most part, and he does write books. So, but, his work is just, it's phenomenal, and his dialogue's memorable, and his characters are always interesting, and stories are always just compelling, and very violent and visceral, too. So if you guys haven't seen Bone Tomahawk, this is like a horror Western hybrid, and it's like his horror version of The Searchers. So, this movie blew me away when I first saw it, and it's got a really good cast. But Bone Tomahawk is good. Richard Jenkins really shows out in Bone Tomahawk. I love it. So Bone Tomahawk, and I don't think this has a 4K, to my knowledge. I know they came out with a steelbook recently, but it doesn't have a 4K transfer yet. Now, Brawl in Cell Block 99 does have a 4K, so you get the Blu-ray of Brawl in Cell Block 99. This is a great film. One of the best films of 2017, in my opinion. Vince Vaughn's he's really just great in that movie. He's real gritty, and you almost forget that it is Vince Vaughn. If you guys have seen him in, Wedding Crashers, Swingers, Maid, and all that stuff, He's just a different guy in these movies, much like he is in Dragged Across the Concrete, which I'll get into in a second. So, Brawl in Cell Block 99, this is the 4K, and it's just, man, such a great movie. Dragged Across Concrete, another great film from Zahler, and this was his last. As of right now, this was his last film, and this came out in 2019, and he hasn't done anything since. But I'm really interested in his work, and I've read one of his novels, and his writing is just, like I said, he has his own language. He speaks his own language, and I just wish he would make more films. But so now we're moving on to Jordan Peele. We have Get Out on Blu-ray. We have Us on Blu-ray, and we have the 4K of Nope. And Jordan Peele, he's kind of hit or miss to me. I like the way these movies look all next to each other. He does have a fourth movie coming out pretty soon. I don't know. I don't think it's really been officially announced yet. But Jordan Peele, he's an interesting filmmaker. I will say I like his comedy better than I do his horror. But I just, he's always doing something interesting. Like, he has these really interesting premises, and his setups even deliver. But it seems like his movies kind of devolve and fall apart in the third act. The films are just kind of esoteric and kind of up their own ass a little bit. But he kind of gets wrapped up in these metaphors, but a lot of the times they don't make sense with what's going on logically in the real world, But, so we have the Zahler films, Jordan Peele's films, and we have John Carpenter. So moving on to the next one. Starting off here on the left side of this shelf, we have the films of Kevin Smith. And I'm going to try to fly through these as quick as I can, guys. My fat ass is just down here on the floor, and it's not real comfortable, so I'm going to show these cases to you guys really quick. We have Clerks, classic Kevin Smith with a slipcover here. I don't know if this Blu-ray is real rare, but, this is like the 15th anniversary edition. And I still have my 10th anniversary edition of Clerks on DVD. So, yeah, it's just not on this shelf. But then we have Mallrats, this 1990s Best of the Decade version with the slipcover. Then we have the Arrow Blu-ray of Mallrats. Now, this did get a 4K recently. I just didn't buy it because I already have this Blu-ray, and I don't know if I need Mallrats on 4K. But great comedy. Then we have Chasing Amy, and I have the Criterion version of this movie, too, with the same cover art here. But this is the Blu-ray, and because Criterion didn't do a Blu-ray of Chasing Amy, it's just the DVD. But I used to really love this movie in my early 20s, and As I've gotten older, I mean, I still appreciate it for what it is, but I just don't think it's quite the masterpiece that I thought it was when I was younger. And same thing with Dogma. I think Dogma is a little overrated. But now this Blu-ray, though, is quite a rarity. This thing, if you look it up on eBay, it's going for a ridiculous price, because this has something to do with the rights being tied up with the Weinstein Company. But yeah, I still have this movie on DVD too. But yeah, Dogma is very rare. It's a fun Kevin Smith film. It's just, it's a little dogmatic, pun intended. But yeah, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Hollywood had it coming. This movie, it's funny, but it's just goofy as all hell. Then we have Jersey Girl, George Carlin. Very good in this movie. Then we have Clerks 2, which is, I mean, I love the first Clerks, but Clerks 2 is the one that I go back to probably more than anything, just because the jokes in it are just hilarious. And I feel like Kevin Smith really, he reached the apex with this one. I don't know if he got any funnier after this movie. I mean, he continued to make some entertaining films, but Clerks 2 was just top notch. Then we have Zack and Miri Make a Porno. This one's fun, but ultimately kind of forgettable. Cop Out, I enjoy watching it occasionally. Tracy Morgan's a little obnoxious, and Bruce Willis just seems like he's kind of just showing up to do his thing. But Cop Out, it's fun. If you like Kevin Smith, and I've always kind of had a soft spot for Kevin Smith because he's just such a passionate dude, and his attitude is just infectious. And he's talked a lot about movies and just keeping the indie spirit alive. So it's like impossible to hate Kevin Smith's films. But this I think, is Kevin Smith's best film, Red State. I feel like he just really delivered his best work with this. Michael Parks is phenomenal in it, and this was unlike anything Kevin Smith did at the time. When this movie came out in like 2011, I was just blown away by it. I had never seen anything like it, and I didn't really think Kevin Smith was capable of doing serious work like this. But it's really gritty, and the ending is a little questionable, but it's a very, it's a great film. Like I said, I think it would have to be my number one favorite Kevin Smith film. Either that or Clerks. But yeah, Tusk. Tusk was fun. I saw this in the theater and kind of gave me a little bit of a panic attack because it was just weird, and I didn't expect a lot of the things that happened in the movie. But you could definitely, this was when Kevin Smith was smoking a lot of weed and coming up with some wacky ideas. But Tusk works. I think Tusk is good for what it is. Then we have Yoga Hosers, which I don't know if I'll ever watch this movie ever again. I thought it was fun, but ultimately it's just kind of ridiculous. Just kind of stupid. Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Not a fan of that. I don't even remember one scene from it, if I'm being honest. Clerks 3 I thought was awful. This is just, I don't know. I had to buy it just so I could complete the Clerks trilogy, but I don't know what Kevin Smith was thinking with Clerks 3. I just don't. It's just unwatchable. It's cringy as all hell, and I just can't get into it. It's like, it's a drama, and everybody dies in it. Anyway, Clerks 3, and that is pretty much the Kevin Smith collection. All right, now next up we have the Quentin Tarantino collection. We have Reservoir Dogs. And I'm not going to talk about these movies a lot, guys, because, I mean, we all know who Tarantino is, and there's no need for me to go into a lengthy discussion about any of these films. They kind of speak for themselves. So then we have this awesome steelbook of Reservoir Dogs, and I'll just show you this here, because I really think this is awesome. See how that ear comes off there? That was cool. This was a must-have. Like, when I first saw that, Lionsgate put this out with this slipcover, I had to have it. And plus the transfer looks really good. The 4K transfer for Pulp Fiction, I wasn't too impressed by, but Reservoir Dogs, when I first saw the 4K transfer of it, it was like seeing it for the first time. Next up, we have Pulp Fiction. That movie speaks for itself. I love that steelbook. And this is the 4K. Then we have the Blu-ray of Pulp Fiction. And then we have another 4K of Pulp Fiction. This one I had to get. I already had that steelbook, and I didn't plan on double dipping on this. But Amazon kind of screwed up on the price, and they had this thing for like $8 or some insane price like that. And I had to pick it up because, I mean, that was a steal. So I have another Pulp Fiction 4K. And then Jackie Brown on Blu-ray. I don't think this has a 4K yet. I think they just released a Blu-ray of this, and it has a slipcover. But I'm hanging on to this one until they do a 4K of Jackie Brown. I'm gonna hang on to this copy. Kill Bill. I like Kill Bill for what it is, but it's not, to me, it's just not Tarantino's greatest work. Many would say that Kill Bill is pretty much his masterpiece, but the two films. But I just don't. I don't know. I feel like it's just a mishmash and a hodgepodge of all of Tarantino's favorite films and ideas just mixed together. But they're fun. I mean, I like all of Tarantino's films. But Kill Bill on Blu-ray and Volume 2, the Blu-ray. Then we have Inglourious Basterds. This is probably my favorite Tarantino film. Next to Pulp Fiction. I mean, this one's like tied with Pulp Fiction. I would say Pulp Fiction first, most definitely, and then Inglourious Basterds. So we have the Blu-ray of Inglourious Basterds. Then we have the 4K Steelbook, and this was a Best Buy exclusive. I've heard some people kind of talk trash about this transfer. I don't know if it's still wrapped up, so I don't know. I haven't seen it, but a lot of people say that you're better off sticking with the Blu-ray. Then we have Grindhouse, which has Death Proof in it. So this is, Robert Rodriguez's and Quentin Tarantino's double feature, Grindhouse, with the original slipcover. So I'm glad to have this one because I think it's pretty rare. I know the slipcover is rare. So you got Death Proof in here. This is like the full cut of both of these films, and then we have Death Proof on Blu-ray just by itself, extended and unrated. So yeah, the extended version of Death Proof is not in this one. I may have misremembered that. But yeah, moving on. We have Django Unchained on Blu-ray. And that's, it's not my favorite Tarantino, but it's highly watchable. I mean, I've seen it umpteen times at this point. Then we have The Hateful Eight, the steelbook, this beautiful steelbook here. The Hateful Eight. And then we have this slipcover version of The Hateful Eight with that lenticular slip. This was a Target exclusive, looks like. Yep. Then we have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the 4K. And I do have another copy of this somewhere. It's on a shelf, and I'm not going to pull it out right now. But I believe it's another 4K version, but it was like some exclusive limited version. But this is like, just the standard slipcover. So yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now we have Rob Zombie's films. And let's see, This House of a Thousand Corpses. This was worth picking up because I love that cover. And this is the 20th anniversary edition. Looks great. This is probably, next to Lords of Salem, I'd have to say this is probably Rob Zombie's best film. Some people would say it's The Devil's Rejects. I'm more of a Thousand Corpses fan myself. And this is, the original Blu-ray of House of a Thousand Corpses. Here's the original Blu-ray for The Devil's Rejects. I'd be interested to see a 4K of The Devil's Rejects. I would pick it up. I don't know if Rob Zombie has any interest in restoring his films on 4K. It seems like he's a little, averse to that idea. I think he's opposed to putting his films on 4K. I don't know, because to my knowledge, I think 3 from Hell is the only one he's put on 4K. But anyway, next up we have his Halloween movies. Halloween 1 and 2, this steelbook. Now I do have other copies of this in my Halloween collection, but I wanted to include this over here because this is part of his filmography. So yeah, I thought that cover art looked pretty cool. Halloween 1 and 2. Part 2 I like better than the first one, actually. The Lords of Salem. This was a really interesting film. It's slept on. I think a lot of people really shit on the Lords of Salem, and people shit on Rob Zombie to begin with. I mean, people just can't stand Rob Zombie. Rob Zombie and Eli Roth seem to get most of the hate and vitriol. I mean, people in the horror community, they love to spit venom at Eli Roth and Rob Zombie. But I've always thought their films were fun, and 31 is not Rob Zombie's best movie, but it is fun. It's a fun time. So 31. Then we have 3 from Hell, and this movie is, it's not great. It probably shouldn't have been made. With the death of Sid Haig, it probably shouldn't have been made, but 3 from Hell was a good time. And here's the steelbook. So yeah, awesome steelbook of the 4K of 3 from Hell. Then we have The Monsters, which I haven't watched yet. I'm a little afraid to watch it. It's gotten such mixed reception across the board. I don't know. I don't know, guys. If you've seen The Monsters, let me know in the comments if it sucks or not. I mean, I'm still gonna watch it. I don't know if I'll like it, but I used to like the show. I mean, I watched the show when I was a kid, and this is my take on it. I feel like if Rob Zombie had done this film in black and white, maybe it would have been a little more well received, but I don't know. I'm going to watch it one of these days, but as of right now, I have not seen The Monsters. That is the only Rob Zombie film I have not watched yet. But that is the Rob Zombie collection. So you have Rob Zombie, you got Tarantino, and you got Kevin Smith. Let's move on to the next shelf. Now, anyone who knows me knows that Dario Argento is one of my favorite directors of all time. And this whole shelf is dedicated to nothing but Argento films. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about these guys. I'm going to fly through them because I'm in a really uncomfortable position here. But these are all of Argento's films, and he's just one of the best horror directors ever, bar none. So this is the Blue Underground version of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Then we have the Arrow Blu-ray of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. I love that artwork. And that is the Blu-ray. This is the 4K of The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Argento really, just right out of the gate, just really kicked ass with this movie. He had already written a couple of screenplays, but this was, his first film, and it was impressive. I mean, he did all the camera techniques, and he's just one of the best auteurs, man. Argento is definitely one of the best. But The Cat o' Nine Tails and The Cat o' Nine Tails 4K. We have The Cat o' Nine Tails Blu-ray, an old Blu-ray from Blue Underground. Four Flies on Grey Velvet. I love this movie. It's got a hell of an ending. And recently they came out with this version of it from Severin. And yeah, Four Flies on Grey Velvet. That's another deep cut, an Argento deep cut. The 5 Days. I haven't watched this one yet, but it just came out from Severin. It was part of Severin's Argento package last year. Maybe even been the year before. But this is just, one of those obscurities that I haven't seen. But then we go back into Giallo territory with Profondo Rosso, or Deep Red, as we all know it. Deep Red, probably my favorite Argento film. I'd have to say Deep Red is definitely my favorite. So we have the 4K, and then we have the Blu-ray of Deep Red. And I can't stress this enough, guys. Deep Red is just one of the best horror movies ever. And, a lot of people would say Suspiria is his masterpiece, but I don't know. I don't know, guys. Deep Red is pretty damn good. Then we have this old Blue Underground Blu-ray of Deep Red. Next up, we have this Blu-ray from Synapse of Suspiria. Beautiful looking Blu-ray. Although the 4K is definitely way better. This is one of the best 4K transfers ever, guys. And Suspiria is a masterpiece. I mean, this might be Argento's masterpiece. I like Deep Red better. I have more fun watching Deep Red. But Suspiria, it's pretty damn good. It's really, as much as I love Suspiria, sometimes I think I like Inferno more. They're both just visually arresting films. I mean, when you watch them, they're just saturated with all kinds of beautiful colors and, a nonsensical plot and, questionable acting. But that's not what Argento's all about. He's all about, style over substance, which a lot of people have complained about, honestly. They say that Argento's films are just kind of illogical and, just not very coherent. But especially with Inferno. I wish Inferno would get a good 4K release. And I haven't heard any announcements yet. And I want to say this Blu-ray is pretty rare, but it looks gorgeous. I mean, Blue Underground needs to get on it, though, because Inferno would look great in 4K. But we have Inferno, and then we have Tenebrae. This is definitely in my top 5 Argento. Such a crazy-ass film. There's lots of bloodshed in this movie. And lots of beautiful ladies to look at, too. Then we have this 4K of Tenebrae with that gnarly-looking image on the cover there. You can tell Brian De Palma was really heavily influenced by the Giallo movement. So yeah, that is gorgeous. And then we have Phenomena. Awesome movie with Jennifer Connelly. This one kind of gets shit on too, but Phenomena is just a gorgeous movie. Then we have this version of Phenomena, which I believe is the 4K. Yeah, this should be the 4K. But if you guys haven't seen Phenomena, I mean, it's crazy with the nightmare logic stuff, and it's very dreamlike and hypnotic and just weird. And Donald Pleasance turns in a real memorable performance in it. And then we have Creepers, basically the Creepers cut. I don't know if this is the Creepers cut or just the alternate artwork, but that is basically just Phenomena with the U.S. title. Same movie, different title. Then we have Opera. This version of Opera from Scorpion Releasing put this one out. But Opera is a great film. I haven't opened this because I still have my old Anchor Bay DVD of Opera, but it's a great movie. And then we have this version of Opera. And Ronin Flicks put this one out, I do believe. But that's an awesome looking slipcover. Many people would say that, Opera was Argento's last great film. I'd have to disagree. I'm not a big fan of Opera. Honestly, like Trauma better, which I'll get into in a second. But that is Opera. And we have Two Evil Eyes. And this is an Argento movie, but also one of the segments was directed by George Romero. So, it's two stories from George Romero and Dario Argento. And if you guys haven't seen it, get on it. Then we have this 4K of Two Evil Eyes. Actually, no, this is the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray of Two Evil Eyes. And then we have the 4K here. So there's the 4K of Two Evil Eyes. I haven't checked out the transfer yet, but from what I understand, it's pretty good. And Blue Underground does really good work on their 4K transfers. So, Two Evil Eyes, and then we have Trauma. Trauma was Argento's first movie made here in the States, and I really love it. I love Asia Argento's performance in it, and the special effects from Tom Savini and Brad Dourif for the short amount of time he's in it. He's good, and Piper Laurie's in this movie. I really enjoy Trauma. Trauma's great. And then we have the Stendhal Syndrome, this Blue Underground Blu-ray. Then we have the Stendhal Syndrome. This is also a Blu-ray. I don't think this has a 4K yet, but yeah, 3-disc limited edition of the Stendhal Syndrome. This is a very weird movie, guys. Then we have The Phantom of the Opera, which I don't really remember. I need to revisit this one. Then we have Sleepless, 2 copies of Sleepless. I don't know why, but it's not the first time I've double dipped, and it definitely won't be the last. Then we have The Card Player. Not one of my favorite Argento movies, but it's fun. Then we have Mother of Tears. This is the third installment in the, the whole Mother trilogy. But then we have Giallo with Adrian Brody. I don't really remember much about this film, but I need to rewatch it. Then we have Dracula, which I didn't really care for. I mean, it's got Rutger Hauer in it and Asia Argento, but yeah, didn't really do much for me. And then Dark Glasses. I have not seen this one yet, but I've heard mixed things. It's Argento, which is the reason why I bought it, but I don't know. I'm a little afraid to watch it because I'm afraid I'll be disappointed, but it looks like he's getting back into Giallo territory with this one. But that is Argento's Dark Glasses, and hopefully it's not his last film. All right, so I'm in a really uncomfortable position on the floor. As you can tell, I'm getting really close to the floor here, but these are the films of Wes Craven. And they didn't fill up this whole shelf, but I'm going to fly through this, guys, because, like I said, I'm really uncomfortable. But you have the Arrow Steelbook of Wes Craven's first film, The Last House, on the left, with that original poster art, which I love. And then we have this MGM release of The Last House on the left. Then we have this Arrow release of The Last House on the left. And this should be the Blu-ray, I believe. I'm not sure. I think this is the blue. So then we have The Last House on the Left remake. I know this is technically not Wes Craven, but I had to put it next to the original. I don't know why. It's just, it's my OCD, guys. I can't help it. Then we have this. I think this is the blue. No, this is the 4K. So you have the Blu-ray. Arrow screwed up, and they sent me the Blu-ray when I ordered the 4K. That's why I have the blue and the 4. Then next up we have this Arrow version of The Hills Have Eyes, Wes Craven's classic, The Hills Have Eyes from 1977. And then we have the 4K, the same cover art. I kind of hate how they do that because, a lot of times, kind of like Criterion, they put out the same artwork on their 4Ks as they do their Blu-rays, and it's kind of difficult to tell them apart. But yeah, The Hills Have Eyes, classic stuff. The Hills Have Eyes Part 2. This is definitely a guilty pleasure for me. I really enjoy watching this, although it's very shitty. Then we have The Hills Have Eyes standard Blu-ray. This was an old Blu-ray from possibly 2010. But yeah, and then we have The Hills Have Eyes Part 2, standard Blu-ray of that. And then we have The Hills Have Eyes remake and the sequel to the remake. And again, I know these aren't Wes Craven films, but I have to put them next to their counterparts, you know? And then we have The Hills Have Eyes 3, which this is not actually an official sequel, but Wes Craven did produce this, and it's called Mind Ripper. That's the actual title. But I want to say Scorpion Releasing did this. No, it's actually Code Red. And they released it, and they sold it with that title, probably just to sell it, you know. Then we have Summer of Fear. Linda Blair is just really charming in this movie. This is an old TV movie from 1978, directed by Wes Craven. Awesome stuff. Then we have Deadly Blessing, Scream Factory's release of Deadly Blessing. I love that artwork. Sharon Stone's really good in this movie. There's some awesome snake and tarantula sequences. Then, of course, we have Nightmare on Elm Street. We all know Nightmare on Elm Street. We don't even need to talk about Nightmare on Elm Street. That's Wes Craven's masterpiece. Then we have Deadly Friend, which a lot of people don't like this film, but I do. The Serpent and the Rainbow. Classic stuff. This is Wes Craven dabbling in the world of voodoo and the occult. You know, it's just, this is really good stuff. Bill Pullman turns in a really solid performance in this. I don't feel like enough people talk about The Serpent and the Rainbow, but that is a good movie. And then we have Shocker. I have 2 copies of Shocker. This is not Blu-ray and 4K. I believe these are both Blu-rays. But Shocker is, again, fun stuff, man. Wes Craven was trying to make Horace Pinker into the next Freddy Krueger, which I feel like he should have been, because, I mean, this movie is just bonkers. It's balls out, insane, and wacky. It's just, you know, it's fun stuff. Next up, we have the 4K of The People Under the Stairs with that original cover art, which is beautiful. We have the Blu-ray from Scream Factory for The People Under the Stairs. I've heard that there's a remake of this coming soon from Jordan Peele's company, Monkey Paw Productions. I hope that's not true. I don't think they need to touch this movie. It's fine as it is. But just like Candyman, I'm sure we're going to see a remake, because remakes are inevitable. That's pretty much, you know, I love that saying. The only thing certain in life is pretty much death, taxes, and remakes. So, and then we have this old Blu-ray of The People Under the Stairs. That's some gnarly looking cover art there. Not a big fan of it. Then we have Vampire in Brooklyn, Eddie Murphy classic. Not great, but funny. Then we have Music of the Heart. This is a rare Blu-ray. I was looking it up recently, and the price point on this movie is insane. Like, I think this movie's it's become quite a rarity on Blu-ray. I think you can get the DVD still for pretty cheap, but for people who don't know, this was Wes Craven's like dream project. You know, he didn't want to be pigeonholed as a horror director, but he ultimately was. But this is a good movie, and it doesn't feel like Wes Craven because we're so used to seeing him do horror. But yeah, this is a solid little movie from him. And then Red Eye. I love Red Eye. Now, I do have the Paramount Presents version of this too, but I have my Paramount Presents collection in a separate closet, so I didn't include it with this lineup here. But Red Eye is good with Rachel McAdams. And Cursed, fun little werewolf film from Wes Craven. And the Scream movies. I know Wes Craven did not direct all of the Screams, but I do have them all here. So I'm just going to fly through them. You have the original Scream, which is Wes Craven, that slipcover. Then we have an old Blu-ray of Scream. We have the 4K Steelbook of Scream. We have Scream 2, the 4K Steelbook. Scream 2, the old Blu-ray. Scream 3, an old Blu-ray. Scream 3 on 4K with a slipcover. And I had to double dip on this one because I just really like that Steelbook. A lot of people didn't really like the red cover, but I do. Scream 3 on 4K. And then we have Scream 4. This is the only Blu-ray of this movie, to my knowledge. Pretty sure we'll be getting a 4K of it pretty soon. But Scream 4 on Blu-ray. Then we have Scream 5 4K slipcover. I hate the damage on this thing up top, but I can live with it. Scream 5. Scream 6. The 4K of Scream 6 with a slipcover. And then, of course, we have the Steelbook of Scream 6. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of Scream 5 and 6. I feel like they should have stopped with Part 4, but I digress. Anyway, that is the Wes Craven collection. Let's move on to the next shelf. All right, so this is the last shelf, and I'm glad because I'm pretty much on the floor now and like half dead at this point. But I hope you guys appreciate this because I'm doing it for you. And but yeah, this is the last shelf, and this is pretty much like Walter Hill movies. So we have over here to the left, we have Hard Times with Charles Bronson from Twilight Time. Then we have The Driver. For a while, this thing was really rare, this Blu-ray from Twilight Time. But The Driver is one of my favorite films of all time. If you guys haven't seen it, it's Walter Hill's masterpiece, in my opinion. But then we have the 4K Steelbook of The Driver with Ryan O'Neal looking cool as hell. Rest in peace, Ryan O'Neal. He just died recently. Then we have The Warriors, the Ultimate Director's Cut, which I'm not a big fan of. I prefer the theatrical, like most people. Then we have The Warriors standard theatrical version. Can you dig it? Yeah, the original theatrical cut. Now, I do have the Arrow 4K of this, but it's in a closet with a lot of other Arrow, special editions, so I didn't want to put it in this lineup here. Next up, we have The Long Riders. This is standard, Blu-ray. And then we have the Kino Lorber release of The Long Riders. Then next we have Southern Comfort. And this movie is about to get a Vinegar Syndrome release, which I'm glad, because this is an old Scream Factory release, and Shout Factory technically. But yeah, this is kind of a Deliverance clone, but if you love Walter Hill, I mean, you'll love this movie. It's just testosterone fueled, and I love it. So I'm curious to check out the 4K transfer from Vinegar Syndrome. Then we have the classic 48 Hours. This pretty much started the whole buddy cop movement, even though Eddie Murphy wasn't a cop in this movie. Nick Nolte, Eddie Murphy. That's not Nick Nolte. That's Nick Nolte. That's Eddie Murphy. You guys know what's up. I hate it when they do that on these covers. But yeah, that was the first Blu-ray I got of 48 Hours. And then, of course, Paramount Presents released this version of it on Blu-ray. And then we have Streets of Fire, another slept-on Walter Hill movie. I feel like it needs more love. I don't feel like a lot of people know about Streets of Fire, but Willem Dafoe is great in it, and you guys should check it out if you haven't seen it. Then we have Walter Hill kind of getting into the comedy realm with Brewster's Millions. Not really his greatest, finest hour, but Richard Pryor, does a good job in it, but it's not one of my favorites. Then we have Crossroads with Ralph Macchio. I love this slipcover. Then we have Extreme Prejudice. I do have another copy of this from Vestron, and it's got the slipcover and all that. It's just in a different part of the room. It's in a closet. Next up, we have Red Heat with Arnie. Then we have Johnny Handsome with Mickey. Then we have the 4K of 48 Hours. And we have the sequel, another 48 Hours on 4K. Next up, we have Trespass on Blu-ray, Shout Select. And we have Geronimo, the Twilight Time release of Geronimo. Then we have Wild Bill, Twilight Time's Wild Bill. This just got released, this Shout Factory version of Last Man Standing. Not Walter Hill's best, but it's good if you like Bruce Willis. Supernova, this is a movie that Walter Hill pretty much disowned. It's says directed by Thomas Lee, but it's pretty much Walter Hill. Then we have a DVD of Undisputed. This hasn't been released on Blu-ray yet, but I think it deserves a Blu-ray. I could see Kino Lorber putting this movie out eventually, but that's Undisputed. Then we have Walter Hill's Broken Trail. I feel like a lot of people should watch this. This is really good. It's long, but it's worth it. Bullet to the Head. Not a big fan of this one, but it's Stallone. Can't go wrong with Stallone. So that's Bullet to the Head. Then we have The Assignment. It's all right. And Dead for a Dollar. This is Walter Hill's latest movie, and this is a DVD. I don't know why they didn't put this out on Blu-ray, but I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard mixed things. But yeah, that is pretty much the Walter Hill collection. So let's move on to the Stanley Kubricks here. Now, this was a nice little fit here to sort of round out the rest of this shelf on the bottom because, as we all know, Stanley Kubrick, he was a great filmmaker, but he only had 13 films to his filmography. So I'm going to just rattle off the rest of these titles to you guys. And yeah, this first one, Fear and Desire. This movie, Kino Lorber, I believe, is about to put, if they hadn't already, they're about to put out a new 4K of Fear and Desire. But this is an old Blu-ray from Kino of Fear and Desire. Then we have the 4K of Killer's Kiss, this noir film from Stanley Kubrick from Kino Lorber. And then we have The Killing, the 4K of The Killing, which I haven't checked out yet. I've seen the Criterion version of this, which I don't have in this lineup because it's in my Criterion closet. But this is the 4K of The Killing. Awesome movie with Sterling Hayden. He's great in it. Paths of Glory. I have watched this one on 4K. It's a beautiful transfer. This is one of my favorite films of all time. Definitely, just awesome anti-war film. Kirk Douglas, probably like his best performance ever. I do have the Criterion version of this one too. Then we have Spartacus. Classic Spartacus with Kirk Douglas. This one really needs a 4K. I do have Spartacus on DVD. It's the Criterion version. And, of course, I have this steelbook here, which looks gorgeous. Spartacus is great. It doesn't feel like a Stanley Kubrick movie because he was brought in to direct. And I don't remember who the original director was, but he was fired. And they brought Kubrick in, and he delivered. So next up, we have Lolita on Blu-ray. Definitely needs an upgrade. Then we have Dr. Strangelove, one of my favorite films of all time. Peter Sellers, for playing multiple roles in this, he just exemplifies that he was one of the best, most versatile comedic actors, But Dr. Strangelove, classic stuff. I do have the Criterion of this too. But 2001, A Space Odyssey, definitely in my top 10. This movie is one of my favorite films of all time. First time I saw 2001, it just changed me. It just changed the way I looked at film. It really changed my brain, and I think I was getting high for the first time in my life when I watched 2001, and it just opened my mind, it just made me look at things differently. But then we have the 4K of 2001, and that transfer looks great. Then we have A Clockwork Orange on Blu-ray, this old digibook of A Clockwork Orange Anniversary Edition. Then we have I don't have the 4K of A Clockwork Orange. I just now realized that. I don't know why. I think I might have heard something bad about the transfer, but the Blu-ray is good enough for me. Barry Lyndon, awesome film. I do have the Criterion version of this too. There's a lot of Kubrick films on Criterion, and The Shining. This one definitely needs to be put on the in the Criterion collection. But The Shining, the Blu-ray. Then we have the 4K steelbook here. This was an exclusive steelbook. I don't remember if this one was like a Best Buy exclusive, but it was definitely a limited steelbook. But I just love that. That looks great. So we have the steelbook of The Shining on 4K. We have Full Metal Jacket, and I don't have the 4K of this either. And honestly, don't even know if one exists. I think it does. Yeah, they put one out. But I haven't bought it yet. Like I said, it's just, the Blu-ray looks good enough for me. And last but not least, we have Eyes Wide Shut. Controversial Stanley Kubrick movie, but it was definitely his last movie, and it's one to be revered for sure. So that is it. That is the Stanley Kubrick collection. And with that, guys, we are done. That is all the movies on this media rack that are arranged by director. So again, to recap, we have Stanley Kubrick at the bottom. We got Walter Hill on the bottom. You got Wes Craven. You got Dario Argento filling up one little shelf there. We got Rob Zombie. You got Tarantino. You got Kevin Smith. And you got John Carpenter's beautiful filmography there. S. Craig Zoller, Jordan Peele, Hal Hartley, and then you got the Woody Allen films. So that is it. That pretty much kind of fills up this media rack. And let me know if this is something you guys do. Do you arrange your movies by director? Do you arrange them by genre? Do you arrange them by, do you have them categorized alphabetically? If you have any thoughts on how you keep your movies organized, be sure to, drop them in the comments. I'd, love to hear your thoughts. I'm always struggling with how to organize my movies, and I don't want to do them alphabetically because that was one thing that I did in the past, and it never worked out because you're constantly buying new stuff. So anyway, that's the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm out of breath. I'm tired. I'm half dead. And so I'm just going to end it here. But I appreciate you guys tuning in, and you've been listening to Rich with Red Phone Video. And until next time, take care, keep watching awesome movies, and I will see you guys in the next video.